Hört's alle her, hört's mir alle zu. Ich sing für euch Tiroler Bravour. Jodelt euch ans und schnackt dazu, denn ich bin ein Tiroler.
Ricochet! Double bounce!
Abpraller!
We dinged them! We didn't penetrate their armor! Great shot! Didn't even scratch them!
It's time to stop!
We've damaged them!
Gegnerische Schlachtschiff versenkt.
The Anhalt is a tier 8 premium, and it is what you get if you spent too much time trying to find new gimmicks for yet another tier 8 premium German battleship. You get this abomination that looked like it's carrying all the burdens from World War I, also known as a whole lot of nothing. It has 15 guns, twice as many guns as common battleships, while still having 30 seconds reload, giving it the best APDPM for a tier 8 battleship. However, these guns are medieval period cannons with a lot of grey paint, which means it has the same amount of penetrating power as dry humping your enemy. It even gets beaten by a tier 4 ship. So even if the game gives it a good dispersion, it still has the tendency to completely ruin your day.
Wir haben sie nicht mal angekratzt.
In order to carry all these blunderbusses, it requires an elongated hull. One may mistake it as a battle cruiser, but this is just a really long dreadnought, which means terrible speed and turning circle, but in return it has little to no superstructure, and a lot of 50mm platings to bounce anything. It is one of the most durable tier 8 battleship by sheer armor alone. Just ignore the cute and funny little shack between the rear turrets, that still counts as a superstructure, yet somehow still big enough to get penetrated by battleship shells, and following the German tradition of being conveniently inconvenient. That little shack also blocks the rearmost turret from having a good angle, meaning the ship has to expose the entire broadside to shoot all of its guns. This is nothing new. However, the Anhalt is noticeably slimmer and longer than the typical German battleship, while having the same gun angles, so it has more flat spots that are more likely to be penetrated. Expect big damage if you didn't angle properly. This quirk along with the typical fire damage are two things you must respect when playing the Anhalt. The rest of the ship is average at best, with the worst secondaries among other German battleships, and no hydro, but it has one unique feature that most people don't even remember, which is the underwater torpedo launchers. There are only 4 single launchers around the ship, but they have a very fast reload, very high damage, could be aimed almost directly ahead, and most importantly, near impossible to incapacitate, unlike most other deck-mounted torpedoes that immediately dies if you give them a funny look. Probably the only World War I armament on the Anhalt that scales surprisingly well into higher tiers, good for those decisive close-quarter battles. But here lies the problem. World of Warships' definition of a close-quarter distance is between 2 and 20 kilometers, depending on who you ask, both of which aren't very good at giving advice, and that is why I'm here. But before that we need to get one thing straight. Using AP on the Anhalt will give you a lot of these 3 ribbons. This is not ideal, so let's reduce that to 1, and you do this by loading HE. The HE spamming potential of the Anhalt is not to be underestimated. With good alpha, fire chance, a lot of penetration, and most importantly, the shell volume necessary to effectively set multiple fires. And because it's HE, You can shoot at anything indiscriminately, even to ships that has no strategic importance, just like bombing Dresden. This does not mean the AP is useless, but because it has the same effect as a slap on the wrist, it must be strictly used against ships that absolutely deserve it, such as super light cruisers that think they could get away with over penetrations, and especially against flat tops. Once you agreed to become the very thing you swore to destroy, the next subject is choosing a priority target. Normally it starts with shooting destroyer and cruiser first, and then go for bigger ships, but because the Anhalt is a battleship with severe gender dysphoria, you do it the other way around. You want to make other battleships suffer by setting them on fire, so they burn their damage control and repair party. Yet you might be wondering, why don't you just play cruisers if you want to HE spam? Or just play a normal battleship instead? Well, you see, this is the main strength of the Anhalt. It has the durability of a proper battleship, and also the DPM necessary to make HE spamming worth doing. Most HE spamming cruisers lack the staying power due to weak armor, and require a lot of time to kill a single battleship. Meanwhile, a normal battleship might have the armor, but if they stick only to AP, they won't do much against angled battleships. The Anhalt does not care about these downsides. It doesn't need to deal with gameplay bureaucracy such as waiting for a broadside to open up. Once you find a reliable ship to shoot, the next thing you must do, and this is an important one, is to keep shooting it until they are dead or crippled enough they start asking to be represented. The reason why you want to keep shooting that same ship is to get your aim calibrated and increase your hit ratio. Your job as a team player is to prevent the enemy, particularly the battleship, from face rolling the flank. Use your armor to take more hits, and hope the enemy is dumb enough to focus the stupid German battleship that only spams HE. If the enemy battleship is on fire or are retreating, then you can shoot other ships. You throw those expired beer kegs on anything, including cruisers, because every time you shoot HE, you help the enemy reaffirm their opinion on how toxic this game has become. Forget about close quarter combat. It should not be a priority. The Anhalt has no secondaries, no hydro, and are too slow to get into position. If you want to do some blitzkrieg, go play the brain dead tech tree. Having said that, if the game gives you an opportunity to pull off something extremely funny, do not hesitate on doing it.
What the fuck?
The Anhalt has the potential to be great, but compared to its contemporaries, it feels like playing a tier 6 ship. Everything takes forever, just like this video. So you have to drag out the game to squeeze every potential out of the ship. You will spend most of your early game lingering outside of the objectives. If there are more battleships, you can be closer. If there are some HE spammers, you stay back. But if two of these classes are present, then go ahead and snipe from maximum range. This is not a ship created with taxpayer money and loaded with disruptive gimmicks. This is yet another German battleship made to milk the Warships, and failing to do so, because it cannot walk into enemy spawn and deal damage without having to do anything. But perhaps that is actually a good thing, and you'll see why later. Once most of the enemy ship have melted away from your HE spam, you can push and do some of those German battleship thingamajig. If you do everything right from the beginning, you will be left with ships that won't even register as a threat. Do it enough times, and you'll gain the ability to see the fear on the enemy eyes as they struggle to comprehend a slow German battleship walking to their spawn while shooting the wrong ammo type. The longer they try to fight you, the bigger your chance of winning. So squeeze the patience out of everyone in the game, but don't forget to squeeze between enemy torpedoes.
You get the best of both worlds. Cheating, I think it's slow. Then you rock out a show. You get the best of both worlds.
This is how you play the Mecklenburg for the common man. You take emergency repair specialist, grease the gears, basics of survivability, and emergency repair expert. Then take fire prevention, improved repair party readiness, adrenaline rush, and top it off with gun feeder. For the upgrades take main armament mod 1, damage control system mod 1, aiming system, your choice between damage control system mod 2, or steering gears mod 1, and then concealment system mod 1. The Anhalt may not be able to match the firepower of a classic American, the speed of the French, or the secondaries power of other German battleships, but the Anhalt is very capable at doing the single most hated thing in this game, along with the durability to continue doing it. This might as well be blasphemy, but then again, a lot of ships are equally bullshit in their own ways. The Anhalt only gets the short end of the stick simply by being the polar opposite of the German battleship doctrine, which probably explains its lack of popularity. Nevertheless, playing the Anhalt would help your team massively, because there will be one less stupid German battleship player on your team that put too much faith on secondaries and hydro, thinking they're the main character, and blaming others when things doesn't work out. So if you care about self-preservation, yet still insists on playing a German ship, the Anhalt might be the ship for you, although you'll probably fall asleep while playing it.
Gegnerisches Schlachtschiff zerstört.